How about the Gannon Stauch case down here in Colorado Springs? Another weird case. Obviously, a big search going on, and then the searching is basically finished, but they're still investigating it with no new leads, and really kind of makes you like, once again, just stuff is just too weird.
I think this is a case that the police know so much more than we know. I have to believe that, right? I have to believe that they do know and they're just trying to keep it quiet so that nobody gets spooked and, maybe makes a run for it. So that's what I have to believe in my heart because at this point, um, so much about the story of the day he went missing, it doesn't add up, it doesn't make sense. And this one broke my heart because I mean he's what 10 or 11. I have an 8-year-old son and just seeing him in videos playing his video games and talking about them like it just made me so terribly sad because I just got a vision, of my son who does the same stuff when he's playing Fortnite or something. He'll talk about it out loud, like as if he's got a YouTube, camera there and he's
Sure.
doing it for YouTube. So adorable, so innocent. This kid already has gone through so much with his parents getting divorced, and now you're living in a different city, and you have a different woman who's with your father, and like, that's difficult for kids. Also,
And
something that
I think the biological mom had some issues in the past. And she was living, I think, in South Carolina. But it sounds like she had some demons that she was dealing with, and that's why Gannon was with dad and stepmom.
right. But then you have, and then there was the kind of I don't know if it was a rumor so much or if it's been kind of proven that they all three knew each other, that T or Letitia Stock was friends with Landon, Gannon's mother, and then started having an affair with her husband. So like this is all very dramatic, kind of tensions running high, maybe a lot of resentment, a lot of jealousy. But I do not like the way that Gannon's stepmother has taken to social media to basically smear any reputation that Landon, Gannon's mother, would have. You can feel however you want about a person. I'm sure you guys have a history, and some of these things you're saying could absolutely be true, but this woman has lost her son
Yeah.
and she's looking for him. So why don't you wait till we find out what happened again, and then you guys can hash out your issues like adults in private instead
Yeah.
of just slamming her all over social media, the horrible things that she said. And now it's funny because this woman, Letitia Stock, is so upset and she wants the police to take down these pages of people talking about her and speculating about her. But it's exactly what she did to Gannon's mother, Landon, but she doesn't like when it happens to her. So in general, I don't think she's a very good person. Is she guilty? Did she do something to Gannon? I would have no way of knowing. However, just based on her social media presence and the video of her and Gannon when he allegedly dropped a candle on the carpet and she was telling him, we have to sell something in this house to pay for it, the gaslighting, the emotional and mental manipulation that she pulled on that child, to me, you're not a good person. Period. You don't talk to a child like that. Once again, it's almost
Yeah.
like the makeup palette thing, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
No,
you don't make a child feel so guilty and make him feel so bad like he didn't do it on purpose. I don't know many kids who would be like, I can't wait to get my stepmother so mad at me that I piss her off and I'm gonna like purposely light this carpet on fire. Most likely he did it on accident, like
yeah.
kids do because they're wild. And to just drag him like that and make him feel so guilty, I have to sell the couch. Not only do I think it was a horrible way to treat him, but I don't believe she recorded it accidentally. I think she did it on purpose. I think she is now trying to create little things that support the narrative as new timelines come to light. She's like, okay, well, oh, yeah, we were in the garage playing on Saturday and he cut himself. And then I put him on the truck to bandage his leg. And I'm like, well, are you saying that because you want to be able to explain why there might be blood on that vehicle? Because you know that the CSI team was in the house and they took out a bunch of stuff. It's very suspicious. I don't think she's a good person. I obviously cannot say that she did something to him, but I do think, in my opinion, allegedly, she knows a lot more than she's telling us. And hopefully the police are also kind of on that same path
Yeah.
to knowing more than we know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. None of it.
Well, and this is what people don't get is that, I mean, the truth is going to come out. It may take a little time, but the truth will ultimately come out. And, it comes out faster when people lie because it's so easy for people to show that it's not truthful. I mean, had they just said, gee, I don't know what's going on. It's tragic. What can I be to do to supportive mom, or stepmom, and be nice to everybody? People would be like, oh wow, but
Right.
people don't. They just think they're smarter than everybody else, and that everybody's stupid, and everyone will fall for the story, and it just never seems to work out that way. It doesn't play out well at all.
Yeah,
I think that.
I was wondering, why doesn't she just keep quiet? It would be low, have a low profile. Stay low.
Well,
You're gonna.
She's obviously a person of interest.
She's got to be.
She's got to be a person of interest, because I think she was kind of the last person seen with him, and that's usually the person of interest who is the last person with them.
Right.
Unless there was somebody else that would make them the last person with them. So it clearly makes you a person of interest, and I don't know if she's talked to anybody, but any attorney would be shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
But they don't. No one ever gets that.
I don't think she has. Right? She couldn't. There was rumors that she had tried to get Jose Baez. We're talking about Jose Baez again, but she tried to get Jose Baez to be a lawyer, and it was all over the Facebook groups. I pay attention to what people are saying on Facebook in these groups. And then, and sorry, I just got a text. And then they said no, that they had asked Jose Baez, or they'd asked his law firm, and he said that's not confirmed, that's not the truth. But she does need a lawyer at this point. And she claims she asked them for one. Did you see that interview that she did where she says she asked them for a lawyer, and she wanted to go to the bathroom, and she wanted a drink, and they said, no, you can't have a lawyer. And I find that very difficult to believe, that they would take her in for questioning. When she asked for a lawyer, they would deny her rights unless she wasn't placed under arrest legally, I guess. But how does that work? Like, if you're being questioned by the police and they ask for a lawyer,
if you say, I want a lawyer, I need my lawyer here. If you say the magic words, lawyer, 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 the police have to stop interrogating you. I mean, that's it. It's done. They have to say, oh, you've said the magic words, you want a lawyer, and now you're saying, oh, you want to talk with me, so what do you want to do?
That's what I thought.
Now, in today's world, most jurisdictions, particularly here in Colorado, videotape all of that information. And so it's clear, because the issues of false confessions and, the police officer, beat me with a rubber hose, those have gone way down since they started videotaping. And the police are like, all right, here's your form, here's your Miranda. Do you want a lawyer? Well, I don't know. Should I get a lawyer? Maybe I should get a lawyer. That's not an invocation of your right to counsel. It's, I want a lawyer. And it has to be affirmative, unequivocal.
She claims she asked for a lawyer, and they said no. And then not only that, but they physically blocked her from leaving with their bodies. They pulled their gun on her, threatened to shoot her and her daughter. Very crazy claims. And it's like, why are you making these claims? Because either they're true, and that's a huge issue, or they're not true, and you're just making it worse for yourself, because now you won't even have the police as allies, because they see you lying about them.
Yeah. I would take that with a huge grain of salt, because most detectives working a case, they're experienced officers. They're not going to jeopardize their career by pulling a gun on somebody. I mean, really? Come on.
Well, devastating. Initially, Scott, I can't lie when the TMZ information...
Gannon, I promise it's the last time I'm going to ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
He did it.
Okay, you promise. He promised.
On purpose.
Pinky promise.
Pinky.
Okay, alright, so, listen. We're going to have to sell stuff to fix it, okay? So, we figure out what we got to sell. We can sell the sofa. We can sell whatever, because we got to get it fixed so the lady don't be mad at us and kick us out of the house. Okay? You got it?
You are?
I am Tisha Stauch, which is Gannon's stepmother.
You've been a part of the investigation since the very first time. You were the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
What did you see when you last saw him?
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about anything with the case. I would more so be willing to talk about how the community needs to have faith and continue to work together and not make these false accusations, like the things that have been said that I've disappeared from the community. I haven't been there to help, but there's lots of reasons behind that.
Reasons like death threats, right?
Right. Death threats are one of them. My family's getting lots of death threats. We counted over 20 some death threats already. Two, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home, and of course I'm not coming home to do these things and to help with the family when I was kind of like told I couldn't. And then many other things that happened with the El Paso County Police Department, you know, and in doing the investigation I was told I wasn't complying. And could I elaborate on that?
Please do.
Yes. So I asked for an attorney during the interview, and I was denied that by them. I was held because they were blocking the door, and I was told I couldn't leave, and that if I would have touched them, they would have probably, you know, said I still wasn't complying or said I was, you know, trying to run away or something. But during the interview, I asked several times, could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? Could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? I was denied. I was told I couldn't get nothing to drink. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I mean, it was continuously that my constitutional rights were violated.
And that's why you say that they said then you weren't cooperating with the investigation.
That's why they said I wasn't cooperating at that time, correct.
And why did you ask for an attorney at the time?
Well, I asked for an attorney at the time because there was one individual, there was two really good detectives, and so I'm not, you know, going to talk bad about detectives, but the tactics they started to get when I would answer questions, they try to, you know, they're detectives, they're supposed to twist. The one main goal is to find Gannon. But during that time, some of those things made me feel uncomfortable the way they were saying things. So I immediately stopped and felt like an attorney would help me with some of the vocabulary and things like that I needed help with and understanding some of the things that they were asking.
I'm going to shift gears to what has become a huge online presence of people obviously trying to do the right thing, help find Gannon. But at the same time, sometimes it just feels like rumor mongering. Have you seen any of those comments yourself?
We have. And see, that's one of the main things we haven't been around in the public eye because I didn't want to expose my family to it if all these things were going on. You know, there was comments about Gannon getting pushed off the hike, and there was comments about this, and that's just not true. I took care of Gannon for the last 2 years in our home because his mother didn't want to do it. And I would never, ever hurt this child. And I know there's some questions out there about, okay, so tell me what happens. That's up to the investigations when they end up letting you guys know, but I've cooperated with them, even to the point that we were held with a gun, and my daughter, a 17-year-old who serves our country in the United States Air Force, who has never committed a crime or done anything wrong in her life, was put in handcuffs over the keys that was in her purse so they could take her car.
And they weren't in there?
They weren't even in her car, in her purse.
And
they were in my pocket.
You originally didn't even know it was the law enforcement officers?
I didn't know it was a law enforcement officer because when he came out, I guess he was putting his jacket on, and it wasn't necessarily his fault. He was adjusting and happened to catch me. But I saw the gun and I panicked originally and kind of thought, oh gosh, I got to, like, who's this guy? And then once I realized it was the sheriff's office, I was totally okay, but they still had a gun and told me they were going to shoot me. But I was really concerned about my daughter, asking why she was being detained in handcuffs and things like that, when that shouldn't even happen for a child. That shouldn't happen for someone who was standing inside of a store shopping because we couldn't have any clothes because all of our clothes were here. If we came here and got clothes, you know, we would be harassed. So she went to purchase some underwear and things like that and was put in the handcuffs in the store, you know, and then brought out with men with guns. And that's just not okay. You know, they could have approached me and said, hi, I'm with El Paso County. Can I please get this? Instead of the way that it happened.
I'm just going to check your shot. You're doing great. I want to make sure that we're still got a recording, still can hear you okay. Okay, yeah, sounds like we're good. Every once in a while my mic will give out, and I want to make sure that's not going to happen here. Okay. I should try and clarify here. Not necessarily crime rates, but the way that people are reacting online to rumors about you with the search.
Oh yes, wow. The rumors have gotten so bad. I pretty much have been told at least 10 different ways that these people have these conspiracy theories. I guess they watch a lot of law shows and maybe they have all these theories on how Gannon is dead. And that's what they're saying. So I'm like, why are you saying Gannon is dead? He is not dead. We are going to find Gannon. And that's the main goal that we all have, my family has. Just because you haven't seen us we have that same goal, and we've been out searching. My aunt has been out searching. My family has been out searching. We all have been doing that together so that we could protect each other.
How does it feel when not only you have a lost child who you are in care of, but then people blaming you for that child not being there?
You know, I'm just ready for Gannon to come home. Most importantly, for him to see his family. But second, I am going to be so ecstatic when I'm able to say to people that I hope they have a really sincere apology for all these theories that have came out online, for all the things they said that I have done or people have done. And I just want everyone to know that we're going to find Gannon. And I love him so much. I've helped taking care of him for so long.
Can you talk to me a little bit about him? I don't know him.
Gannon is so kind, and he loves to play video games. That's one of his favorite things. He loves Sonic and Mario, and you know, he's always helpful, and he was always so helpful with the dogs around the house, and we have 2 little cute dogs, and he was always like a person I could say, Gannon, can you go do this? And he would do it right away. You know, sometimes with kids we have to remind them and things like that, and that's okay, but he was so sweet and able to help anyone. He could notice when you're sick and say, are you okay? And such a kind heart.
I know you just said that you can't say anything about the investigation, so you can just say so again if you can't answer this. But is there anything we can hear about the hike? Was there a hike? We don't. That just seems like rumors right now.
You know what? Could we bring my daughter up here? Because she can go and say that, you know, she came home from work after the hike, and she can verify that Gannon was at our home.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine with me. If she doesn't want to, that's okay. But you're allowed to ask her. Sound okay so far?
Yes. I need Harley. Because they want you to verify was Gannon at home after the hike. Because you didn't go to the hike, but you came home from work.
Do you want me to just say yes?
No, just answer the question. Yes, you came home from work, and you can verify Gannon was at home. Yeah. I told her she didn't have to be too in-depth because she is still, you know, a child, but I want to make sure that someone knows that there's another person to verify that Gannon.
Sure.
Does she need to hold this?
No.
Yes, so I came home later that evening. I was at work, and I can verify that he was there that night.
So there was a hike that you guys went on, but then you guys came home.
Yes.
Where'd you guys go hiking?
Garden of the Gods.
Oh, yes. Okay. I guess when.
And then we ate Burger King afterwards, so, you know.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then it just was, I'm going to go to play at a friend's house. And then it was just, I'm off to go to play at a friend's house.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to, like, comment on that anymore, and for that reason is because some things have been turned and twisted, and, you know, that was one of those stories you were talking about where people say things. We had to hear things like, who would let their child go out at dark, and things like that, and that's just why I don't want to answer that. If I had to give... I'm not going to say that part.
That's okay.
Never mind.
Right.
I could take that out.
I understand that it gets tricky with
Yeah.
legal stuff. Do you feel like I asked you what I need to? Do you feel like this is going to help kind of turn the tide of what feels like a witch hunt, in my opinion?
I hope... Am I on camera now?
You are still.
Okay. I think that a lot of people can see that I'm not missing and see that I am being cooperative, but to me it's okay that they think those things, because the way someone thinks about me, I don't have a problem with that. My main thing is I would never want someone to think that I would hurt Gannon or any of the children in our home, because that's just not the case. I've spent my whole entire life working so hard in education. There was even things online that was talking about my education license, and I shouldn't even be a teacher, and they just didn't know that. Like, we moved on a military move, and I didn't finish out my contract, so I gave up my license in that state. It had nothing to do with any criminal activity, you know, or any of those things, and it just got blown out of proportion on my professional status, you know. And
do you feel like these are just internet detectives who think they know what they're doing?
It definitely is. And, you know, here's the thing that kind of saddens me. It's like, if you're going to talk about someone like that and have a witch hunt out for them, why would you even care, like, about doing those things? Because this is a child. You're telling me that you're just as mean, you're just as hateful to talk about someone else like that. That's how I feel. Like, we just should not. We should all come together and wait until the end and see what happens, because Gannon's going to come home.
Any message for Gannon?
The message for Gannon I have is, Gannon, when you get here, you'll be able to truly tell what happened. And then I really hope I get a sincere apology from everyone who has made all those things, especially from my husband. We just wanted to add a message to Gannon from my family, is that we love you and miss you, and we hope that you come home soon. And Gannon, I can't wait till you can come home and let everyone know that you're okay. We love you.
How do I describe my G-Man, my Gannon? Gannon's my hero. I love him so much. He's not only my hero, he has multiple people that call him his hero as well. He has so many family members that just look up to him at such a small age. He's full of life. He's happy. He's energetic. He loves sports. He loves Sonic. He loves going outside, playing with his friends, his sister, his neighbor, especially Braden. This neighborhood basically gives you a true example of who my son is. Everybody coming together, all the smiles that people have. This is why I have hope, because I feel it. This is Gannon truly speaking to our community. Gannon he loves blue, he loves Sonic, he's into coding, he loves riding his bicycle with his sister, and I know that he's missing that right now. He holds his job as being Big Bubba very important, and for him not to be able to talk to his sisters has to be hurting him. This week has been awful. It's been more than a roller coaster ride. It's been more than emotional mess. I don't even have answers for my feelings other than I'm afraid. I'm afraid that I will never hear his voice, that I'll never hear him run and say, "Mommy," that I'll never hear those corny jokes that he always tells every single day. He has to tell me a joke. He looks forward to telling me something silly. And I'm afraid that I may never see that again or hear it. I don't want to believe that, because that means that I'm giving up hope, and I'm not giving up hope because my son is full of hope. So I'm urging anyone that has any leads, credible leads, if you're too afraid because you know something, a kid just doesn't disappear and no one sees him. It's not how this works. So if you have anything that's credible, if you're afraid, don't worry about it. Imagine my son, how afraid he is. Imagine how afraid Gannon is. So please call, please write. If you need to have someone else to do it for you, please do. Because my son deserves to be here. He deserves to be here. Please call the El Paso Sheriff's County and let them know. And I thank you guys, the community, for what you've done, because this is Gannon. This is who he is. And I thank you guys so much.
When Gannon was born, he weighed only 1 pound and 6 ounces, and even today he's still our miracle child. He still is. And he's such a happy child, and he just brings life to every party. His smile, even today, is keeping us going. His infectious smile brings me joy every time I think about it. The past 8 days have been, as Landon said, a roller coaster of emotions. Sometimes we're jumping for joy because we get an information that we might think is a break in the case, and then the next minute we get we see something or get information that just breaks our heart into a million pieces again. But through all this, just know that your thoughts and your prayers and your messages, keep them coming, because even if we don't respond, we are receiving them, and that has given us strength to get through this. And I do want to say I'm so proud of Lena, my little baby girl here, and of Landon, my children's mother. They've been so strong through this, stronger than I would have ever thought that I could have ever been, and I'm getting strength from them as well. As I said, please keep sending your thoughts and your prayers, because we are receiving them. And if you have any information at all that could help, please reach out to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office with only credible information, but any information that you think may help. Thank you so much. Your turn, baby.
I love you, Baba.
I'm Landon Hyatt, Gannon's mom, and I encourage you guys, I know many of you mothers and fathers, I encourage you just to find him. I'm so thankful for all the outpouring help that this case has brought. My son is a very loving kid. He wouldn't want harm on anybody at all. And it's so hard to just think, why is this happening to him?
I have no clue, but my kid deserves to come home. My kid has a purpose. My kid has a life, and it's important to me, and it's important to everybody that's standing in this room. Gannon, Bubba, little man, mommy's hero, wherever you're at, mommy and daddy's here. And we're begging and pleading for you to come home. I know that's your biggest wish, is to see mommy and daddy standing here. We're here, Bubba. We're here for you, and I can't wait till you're found, because I have hope that you are going to be found. You are my hero. You are the reason why I have life. He's so special to me. I don't think many people can understand. My child was a 1 pound, 6 ounce baby. He had a 10% chance of survival. If he survived, he would be profoundly disabled. None of that is accurate. He's gifted and talented. Do anything for anybody. So I'm begging, I'm pleading, if anybody has any type of lead, put yourself in my situation. Ask yourself, what would you do? My Savior is a great Savior. And I know I have hope and that my son's going to be here. I'm thankful for the churches, the pastors, the outpouring support from this community, from Albert's military, family, everybody, the detectives. It was you that was sitting at the table, and you told me that 90% success rate, and you told me that I'm going to find Gannon. I believe that. It's the first time I had hope since I got that call on Monday. I have hope. So please have hope with me. I'm begging. Bring my baby home. Bubba, I love you. Mommy loves you so much. Nova loves you. Lena loves you. This room is filled with people that love you, and this community loves you too. So please come home, baby. Please come home.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate what Lane had said, that what an incredible community we have. I mean, everybody in here in a team, incredible team that, I came out my front door, I think it was Tuesday, and there was 300 people out there searching my neighborhood. It blew me away. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. Again, and Daddy loves you so much. Please come home.
Thank you for coming today. We thank you for your patience as we work diligently. Sheriff Bill Elder, Lieutenant Mitch Mahalko, FBI Denver Division Special Agent in Charge, Dean Phillips, District Attorney Dan May, and Senior Deputy District Attorney Michael Allen. We will not be taking any questions at the conclusion of the press conference. However, I will be reading a statement from Gannon's father, Al. Landon may not speak. Please respect the family's request for privacy as they begin to absorb and process the devastating news they have received today. Sheriff Elder.
Thanks, Jackie. Welcome, everybody. Today marks 5 weeks since the investigation into the disappearance of Gannon Stauch. We're holding the press conference to update you on some significant developments. While we've yet to locate Gannon, this morning, just after 8 o'clock a.m. East Coast time, Letitia Stauch was taken into custody in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina without incident by law enforcement officers from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, the Denver and Columbia divisions of the FBI, the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina Police Department, the Horry County, South Carolina Police Department, and Sheriff's Office. Letitia will be held without bond in the J. Reuben Long Detention Center in Horry County, South Carolina, where she will remain until she's extradited back to Colorado Springs on the following charges. Charge 1, murder in the first degree of a child under 12 years of age by a person in a position of trust. Child abuse resulting in death. Tampering with a deceased human body, and tampering with physical evidence. I cannot stress enough what a difficult time this has been for Gannon's family. Like Jackie said, they've provided a written statement, but they will not, and they won't be providing any interviews at this time, and I ask that you protect their privacy. This has been a rapidly developing and highly complex investigation, and it underscores the importance of teamwork in the law enforcement agents in our community. While our hope is always that tragic cases like this never happen, it is precisely why the extremely close relationships we enjoy with our local, state, and national law enforcement partners becomes the most important. The list of people from around the country that have worked many, many long hours and invested themselves so deeply is long and impressive. I offer my sincere thanks to each and every one of you for all that you've done in the investigative efforts so far. The safety of the citizens of this community is the top priority to all of us standing before you today. We'd like to thank the thousands of members of this community for your compassion, your kindness, and your thoughtfulness, your generosity, and your support while we've taken on the tireless search efforts over the past 5 weeks. On behalf of the Sheriff's Office, all of the investigators, the staff, the volunteers involved in this investigation from all over the United States, we'd like to express our deepest sympathies to Gannon's family and friends. There is no way to express the depth of our sympathy, and our hearts break for you. But I make this promise: this team will continue its work. These partners will remain steadfast and diligent until the conclusion and final prosecution of this case. We will not stop, and this investigation has only begun. Letitia's arrest photograph will be made available to the media as soon as we can following the press conference. Jackie will have the details. And now I will turn the microphone over to Lieutenant Mitch Mahalko.
Good afternoon. We will not be going into detail about the information in the investigation which ultimately resulted in the arrest of Letitia. But I can tell you that this has been a methodical and time-consuming multi-state operation with investigators working nearly around the clock to find Gannon. There have been thousands of hours of investigation and search efforts. This includes large-scale searches in addition to small, specific searches with drones, horses, canines, and other resources. While we have not yet found Gannon, information has been developed that is helping us narrow our search. As you can see from the arrest, sadly, we do not believe Gannon is alive. Our work is only just beginning, and you will continue to see many law enforcement officials in El Paso County over the coming weeks and possibly months as we continue our relentless pursuit of justice for Gannon and his family. On behalf of the investigators and staff involved in this investigation, we would like to express our deepest sympathies to the family and the friends of Gannon. The death of a child is something no parent should ever have to endure. This case has not just been an investigation for us. This case has become very personal and will forever remain in our hearts. We will continue to work closely with the 4th Judicial District Attorney's Office, the FBI, and other partners to the conclusion of this investigation. At this time, I'd like to turn this over to FBI Denver Division Special Agent in Charge, Dean Phillips.
Thank you for being here today. On behalf of the men and women of the FBI, the special agents, investigative analysts, support staff, and our task force officers, we express our deepest condolences to the family, the friends, and the loved ones of Gannon Stauch. To the press, I also ask that you give the family space and time in order to process the information that they're dealing with now. To the community, thank you for your patience and understanding, for your assistance, and for the support you provided to the law enforcement community as we have worked through this investigation. The law enforcement community, I want to recognize in particular the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, the Colorado Springs Police Department, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, our partners, our task force partners in Pueblo, the Pueblo PD, Pueblo County Sheriff's Office, and the Colorado State Patrol. All of these agencies have worked tirelessly and seamlessly together throughout this investigation. Although this is not the outcome for which we had hoped, we continue to work this aggressively, and we will continue to work it through to the end. As far as the FBI is concerned, we brought significant resources to bear, to include agents, special agents, investigative analysts, technical support, evidence response teams, and behavioral analysis unit support. But we are not done. We will be here with our partners to the end. We will continue to help law enforcement and the prosecutors see this to the very end. And know this, when it comes to the loss of a child, the FBI will always bring all available and logical resources to bear to help our law enforcement partners when called. We will answer the call. To the community, I want to tell you that at this point, all the evidence points to Gannon's disappearance being the result of foul play, but we have no reason to believe that there is any information or intelligence indicating a threat to other children in the community. Thank you very much.
This is not the outcome that anybody here wanted. We wish today, as we were standing here, that we had little Gannon with us to be able to present to our community still alive and doing well. Unfortunately, that's not the situation. As you've heard, an arrest warrant was issued for first-degree murder of Gannon in this case. Unfortunately, we've had to get to know the family now as part of our prosecution family, and they'll be with us for the next many months going forward. It's an unfortunate thing that we are here today. I do want to thank all those who've been involved. The FBI has been amazing. John Cronin, who's the special agent in charge here in Colorado Springs, has spent literally his team 24/7 for weeks across this country. We could not have done this without their support. Bill Elder's team has been fabulous in terms of their work, working tirelessly again 24/7 for many weeks, hoping we would find Gannon. Unfortunately, we are not. Colorado Springs Police Department, Kevin Clark, came over, and it's been amazing the work that he has done, which I understand he may even get a special recognition from the FBI in terms of what he's done on this case. My lead prosecutor on this case has been Michael Allen. He will continue to be the lead prosecutor throughout this case. And with that, I'd like to introduce him to fill you in on some of the things we expect going forward.
I want to let everybody know that the affidavit in this case supporting the arrest warrant remains sealed. We do understand why this case has drawn the attention it has from across our community and also across our country. But we want to do everything we can to make sure we achieve justice for Gannon. So we're not going to talk about the facts of the case going forward. We want to make sure that we protect these criminal proceedings. Anytime a child goes missing, it's natural for people to want to help out, and we encourage people, if you have credible tips, to still report those tips to the Sheriff's Department. We are going to continue this investigation, and really it's a two-pronged investigation at this point, or process, I should say. One, we still want to bring Gannon home so that he can have a proper burial and his family can achieve the closure that they need. But we also want to hold the person that we are charging, Letitia Stauch, accountable for what she did in this case. She has been arrested on the following charges: murder in the first degree, child under 12 by a person in a position of trust. That is a Class 1 felony and carries a potential penalty of life in prison without parole. The other charges are child abuse resulting in death, tampering with the deceased body, and tampering with physical evidence. The extradition process is where we are now. We will proceed until we get Letitia back here to face formal filing of charges, which will be sometime in the coming days. We do have a team of folks in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina right now, 2 prosecutors from our office, FBI agents, and members of the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. They're collecting evidence even in South Carolina as we speak, and that will continue until they exhaust that effort. I do want to add, too, that all defendants, Letitia included, are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That will be the case. It's our burden to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. We are confident that we'll be able to do that. But because we have that burden and we want to protect these proceedings, we won't be commenting again on the facts of this case. Thank you very much.
Really, I'm not in the correct mindset to be even standing up here, but if I had to say one thing, that when he said Gannon is no longer with us, I'd have to say Gannon is with us. After the stories of people from all over the world, he's not only my hero now, he's the world's hero. So I think the community, the positive support from a state that I've never visited other than 2 or 3 times, I'm astounded by the amount of love that's not come from me. It's came from my boy. And never thought I'd be standing here. It's a nightmare. I've had to put trust in the people I don't know. Today, I got the worst news and the best news. Obviously, we know what the worst news is, but the best news is that justice will be served. And I'll make sure that justice is served, because my boy did not deserve any of this that has happened to him. So I urge media one more time just to hold off on questions until we know that this person, the stepmom that I even trusted, that she will pay 100% for this heinous thing she done. And I know that that's going to will be done. So I ask you guys, I beg and plead, if you've known or if you see this story, all of you have seen this story, please hold that very close to you. Because I want to live this earth knowing that justice was served for my boy. And I know that you've seen pictures, you've seen stories, you've seen my little man. He is truly my hero. And I'm gladly giving that to you guys too, that he can be your hero. I've heard stories of people that have not prayed in years, that have finally fell on their knees to pray. And I know where my son's at, without a shadow of a doubt. So many families have been brought closer together because of this. I know my boy is special, and I've told my people and my family and friends that Gannon has a testimony, that Gannon has a story. He's special. And this is his story. So make that story magnificent, who my child is. And I'm putting my trust into you guys to do that. So thank you for allowing Gannon to be your hero and sharing him with us.
So now I'm going to read a statement from Al, Gannon's dad. In a moment on September 29, 2008, my heart stopped as my baby boy entered this world way too early, weighing only 1 pound, 6 ounces. His infectious smile and constant laughter made an impact on every single person he's ever met. Although I miss the years when he was learning to walk, learning to talk, and he had welcomed his little sissy home from the hospital, I've been looking forward to his teenage years and the fun we had ahead of us as he became a young man. In a moment, on March 2nd, 2020, my heart stopped again with what we have heard up to this point. My little boy is not coming home. We will never play Nintendo again. No more Taco Tuesdays. No more smooth-looking haircuts. No more Big Bubba for my Lena, and no more G-Man for the world. The person who committed this heinous, horrible crime is one that I gave more to anyone else on this planet, and that is a burden that I will carry with me for a very long time. But the God I believe in is the owner and decider of justice and vengeance. Only He can repay. Although I am selfish and want my baby boy here, now and forever, how can I question God for bringing Gannon home to Him? Because Gannon believed in God, and I will never stop believing. Thank you to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and the FBI for the thousands of hours it took to uncover the truth as we know it, and may they stay strong and focused as they move forward. The mugshot for Letitia will be available on our social media platforms as soon as she is formally booked into the Horry County Sheriff's Office detention facility. I do have press packets available for the media, which will be available at the conclusion of the press conference. As Senior District Attorney Michael Allen said, all investigation questions should be directed to the District Attorney's Office. All search effort information will continue to come from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Right now, I'd like to take the time to thank the media for your constant coverage and not letting this nation forget Gannon. Our work is not done. Let's continue to work together to find him. Thank you for coming.
Okay, is this Miss Stauch? Stauch? I knew whichever way I went I'd be wrong, but okay. I don't know how much you know about the extradition proceeding. Do you know anything about extradition? Well, you're going to learn. This morning you have a decision to make. You can either waive extradition, and the state of Colorado has 20 days to come get you, which, to be quite honest about it, under the facts of this particular situation, I have a feeling it'd be much shorter than that. But anyway, you have they'll have 20 days to come get you, or you can fight extradition. Fighting extradition means that, and this is a guesstimate on my part, that it would be about maybe 90 days from now, the Attorney General from the state of South Carolina would hold a extradition hearing where he has to prove two things: that you are Miss Stauch, Miss Stauch, and that you are wanted for a felony in the state of Colorado. It's not a very high bar for them to jump over, but that is the standard in a extradition hearing. So my question to you is, do you want to waive extradition, or do you want to fight extradition?
So when you said something about fighting it, I have to do what now?
Well, you don't have to do anything. You just have to sit until the hearing comes up. But otherwise, the state of Colorado has, if you waive extradition, they have 20 days to come get you. I would be surprised if they weren't already in the air, but that's just me. I have no factual basis for that, but I've just...
they were here yesterday. That's who actually came.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
what you want to do, young lady? You want to waive extradition, or you want to fight?
So there's a hearing here. What does that mean? They decide and determine what? If the hearing is here, what does that decide?
It just decides whether you go back to Colorado or not.
Well, I've still never been given the opportunity, like, since the beginning, to even call my attorney and even talk to him about any of these things.
Well, where's your attorney?
I need to call my friend Laura, who has the attorney, but I was told yesterday that someone was going to do that, but they never did.
Okay.
I've asked since yesterday that I call an attorney.
Well, it doesn't matter either way to me, because I'm just asking the question. I don't care what the answers are. If you waive extradition, I will sign the extradition order, and they'll bring it back there for you to consent to. If you fight extradition, then they'll just have an extradition hearing sometime in the future. And the problem with fighting extradition is that the time you spend sitting waiting for the extradition hearing is always considered to be your time, not Colorado or whatever the requesting state's time is. So you don't get any credit. It's like, I won't say wasting your time, but and there are very few, this isn't legal advice, but I'll tell you, there's very few defenses to extradition. But it's your choice.
Oh, so you're saying it's not like a guarantee, it's just a hearing?
It's just a hearing where they have to prove you are who you are and that you're wanted for a felony. Those are the two things they have to prove in an extradition hearing. That's all. So, I mean, if you are who you are and you're wanted for a felony in Colorado, it won't do much good fighting an extradition hearing.
Oh, you're saying they have to prove that. I see what you're saying. I understand now. So,
Yes.
So you don't know.
Okay, what you want to do, young lady?
So Colorado.
Okay, well, I'll sign the extradition order, and they'll bring it back for you to consent to. Now, of course, it wouldn't have mattered if you waived or not waived. When somebody's somebody is a fugitive from one state, I don't let them be a fugitive from two states. So it's not like if you answered either way, it would make any difference as far as the hearing today goes, because I'm not going to set bond. Of course, with the charges that are involved, I couldn't set bond anyway, I don't think. Anyway.
Yeah, I didn't run from you guys, so I don't have any trouble with you guys too. I didn't even know anything until yesterday, so the date on that paper you have is wrong.
Well, let me tell you something else, and I didn't go into all this. But now that we've decided what we're going to do in this particular hearing, because of the charges you're charged with as far as today's concerned, I don't believe I'd say too much more. Okay? All right. They'll bring the order back to you to sign in a moment. All right. To consent to. Okay?
Okay.
All righty.
Mom's on the move. Letitia Stauch, yes, the stepmother of Gannon Stauch, the young man who disappeared in El Paso County, basically Colorado Springs, Colorado, back in January. No idea where he is, but Letitia Stauch was arrested in South Carolina. That's where originally she was from. She was being extradited back to Colorado to face charges of first-degree murder related to the disappearance of Gannon Stauch. Well, she got a little tricky. She is just a little Houdini, apparently. Apparently, as they were coming across country in Kansas, she was able to maneuver out of her handcuffs and attempted to attack the El Paso County sheriff that was driving her across country, and one could only reasonably assume in an attempt to escape. Now, that is not the conduct of an innocent person for most people. Now, obviously, she has only been charged. She has not been convicted, so we must give her the presumption of innocence, but use your common sense. If she had no worries or concerns about being back in Colorado to face these charges, which everyone should be worried if they're facing first-degree murder charges, one way you do it is you get to court and you make the government prove the case against you if they can. But you don't try to escape after assaulting a sheriff who's trying to get you back there safely. Needless to say, Miss Letitia Stauch is back in the El Paso County Jail. Apparently, she got an extra night in custody in Kansas, where they booked her in, shipped her back down here after they were able to basically get control of the situation. I can guarantee you those handcuffs were extremely tight this time. allowing no give where she could try to escape. And I assure you, when she goes to court, she will have her hands shackled, her feet, she'll have chains on them, and more than likely she'll have a belly strap around her as well. And she's only making things more difficult for her because now they're going to hold her in a high-risk unit, and she's going to have less freedom as she would have as a prisoner. A lot of people responded to our question that we put up on Facebook as to what questions do you have regarding Gannon Stauch's case. Probably the main one is, how long will it be until Letitia Stauch goes to trial? Well, you have to remember, she has court March 11th. That's when she's going to be brought back for an initial advisement, filing of charges. She, by statute, has 35 days to request a preliminary hearing and to actually have that hearing held within 35 days. She, through her attorney, could waive that 35-day rule, and it could be set out much farther. If she doesn't, the prosecutor has to present enough evidence to keep the case alive, so to speak. Now, should anybody be worried if she demands a preliminary hearing right away? No. Why? At a preliminary hearing, you don't need to call any lay witnesses. You simply call the police officer who prepared the affidavit for an arrest warrant, who went to a judge and signed the affidavit saying there's probable cause for her arrest, and the case will be bound over unless the district attorney forgets to ask a particular question related to an element in the offense. Never happens. Judges cut huge breaks. The law is so clear that the evidence must be viewed in the light most favorable to the prosecution, drawing all inferences in their favor. That standard does not change throughout the process until basically the defense rests their case at trial. That's not going to be an issue. Also, at that preliminary hearing, if the district attorney wants to keep Miss Letitia Stauch without a bond, they have a proof evident presumption great hearing. Basically, they have to show, the prosecution has to show that proof is evident and the presumption is great that she is the one that committed a crime, and to show there's a high likelihood of success as it relates to a conviction, that there's basically more than just probable cause, kind of overwhelming evidence that she is the one that caused the death of Gannon Stauch. So we don't have all the information as what was laid out in an affidavit for arrest warrant. We'll kind of have to wait and see. But after the preliminary hearing, proof evident presumption great, then the matter will be bound over for an arraignment, which is probably 30 to 45 days out from there. Now, most defense attorneys are going to want to continue that preliminary hearing, and then even after the preliminary hearing, they're going to want a little more time than usually the 3 to 4 weeks that the court gives you. And then when they get to the actual arraignment, where they enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, and assuming that she enters a plea of not guilty, the state then has 6 months under the Colorado Speedy Trial Act to get her to trial. If they got her to trial in 6 months and 1 day, the case would be dismissed. I assure you that won't happen. In all my years of practicing law, specifically here in Colorado, I've never seen a case dismissed on speedy trial. The government will get you to trial, or they'll load you up on so much new discovery or something that you, as the defendant, would have to request a continuance, so it buys them more time. Now, personally, I've said this before, my preference is when you have a murder trial, you go on the first setting because nobody thinks you'll ever go in that first setting within that first 6 months. Some of the best wins I've had doing homicide cases have been saying, let's go first setting. We're ready to roll because nobody on the government side thinks that you're ready to roll. So 6 months from the date they actually say an arraignment. All right. Will the affidavit be unsealed? Yes, it should be unsealed. Why is the defense one unsealed? Well, because until it's unsealed, even the defense doesn't have a copy of it, and the defense cannot begin their investigation. All right. Once again, El Paso County, this is the same judicial district that handled the Patrick Frazee matter, all right, where they went to trial with no body. Apparently, they think they can do it again. Now, obviously, Miss Stauch is not helping herself, and I say that in the sense of, in the big objective picture, she's not helping herself if you had to be her defense attorney trying to help her out. Do you think a change of venue would be requested? Very unlikely. El Paso County is a huge jurisdiction. It's actually larger than Denver in the metropolitan area. For those who aren't familiar with it, you kind of have the top of kind of Colorado near the Wyoming border. You have Fort Collins. Then you have, Westminster, Thornton, North Glen, Denver, Colorado Springs, Pueblo. Colorado Springs is one of the largest cities in Colorado, and they'll have no problem finding jurors who have not heard about or are familiar with the case. And even if you know something about the case, doesn't mean you can't serve as a juror. You just can't have already formed an opinion. All right? Do you think that if a change of venue is requested, would she still get a fair trial? She'll get a fair trial either way. No judge is going to make sure that somebody has an unfair trial. Judges always go above and beyond to make sure everybody in the courtroom, the prosecution and the defense, receive a fair trial. Because I tell you, as an attorney, at the end of the day, whether it's a win, a loss, or a draw, a hung jury, you just want to be able to look over to your client and say, you had a fair trial, okay? Nothing worse than when you have to tell your client, man, you got screwed. All right. Most judges aren't going to do that. Most judges are good judges. They want to do the right thing. They're going to follow the law, and that's all they should do. They shouldn't weigh one side or the other for the defense or prosecution. Their job is just like an umpire at a baseball game. Call balls and strikes. You don't care who wins. Call balls and strikes. Next on the docket, a Gannon Stauch update. Well, stepmom, for those of you who do not know, Letitia Stauch, has been arrested, and she was arrested in South Carolina. She was extradited back to the state of Colorado, where she had a little bit of a mishap, where apparently her hands may have slipped out of her handcuff, and she may have attacked the deputy sheriff along the way, which delayed her return back to Colorado by a day because they had to book her into a Wichita, Kansas jail, basically for safekeeping while they sorted the situation out. Well, she is back in Colorado. She is not going anywhere. She's facing first-degree murder charges, and she has court coming up here shortly. To add to Letitia Stauch's problems, she had a job as a teacher forthcoming, but the school district here in Colorado Springs, the Academy District 20, rescinded her job offer, and the school is saying it had nothing to do with the fact that she's now charged with first-degree murder and completely incapable of showing up and appearing for that job, but because they stated that during their due diligence for any employment application, that it was determined that there were inconsistencies that were not compatible with employment. So, although that is the least of Miss Stauch's problems headed her way, she can just add that to the pile for sure. She had a first appearance in court today. Just like I said it would take place, they received a copy of the complaint information. They waived any formal reading or advisement of the charges. There are 4 charges. We know one is first-degree murder. The remainder of the charges are more than likely tampering with evidence, tampering with abuse of a corpse, things of that nature. Once we get that actual complaint information, we will bring it to you for sure and fully explain the charges as well. Now, today at the first advisement, just like I told you, not a whole lot's going on. Little surprised that the defense waived the 35-day rule at this particular point, and that they asked for a status conference, which is now set for April 14th, to see what the status for the discovery is. As a defense attorney, I would have demanded that discovery be produced immediately, and then I will let the court know whether we'll be prepared to proceed within the 35 days. Now, the one public defender that Ms. Stauch had said that she had a homicide trial starting the week before or something along those lines in April. So she probably is like, hey, I don't have time for another homicide prove evidence presumption grade preliminary hearing. But I wouldn't have waived it until I would have forced the prosecution to turn that evidence over. They're the ones that charged it. They're the ones that arrested my client. I would have said, I want it tomorrow. Now, the judge was ordering that the district attorney produced to the defense attorneys the affidavit for arrest warrant so that they know what the heck the evidence is, because at this point they don't have it, just like the public doesn't have it yet. The prosecution does not object to the unsealing of that affidavit, but the court was not willing to do so just yet. Additionally, we found out that there are some 107 search warrants that were issued in this particular case, not only in Colorado, but in South Carolina as well. South Carolina doesn't have a sealing provision, but all of the affidavits here are under seal, and the court will at some point authorize the unsealing of those search warrants so the defense can get a copy of them, even though they'll be produced in discovery. I'm a big fan of open records. I think that they should be made to the public. These are public documents. They should be available, and all the redaction stuff. We know who they're talking about. Who cares what their date of birth is? It's not that big a deal, but all the privacy issues these days, everything's redacted. It used to be you could walk in, pick up a court file, pull it, copy the whole thing, and walk out the door. It was good. One of the things that you'll note if you watch the hearing is that the defense attorney for Ms. Stauch was sitting in the jury box where they put the defendants while they're in custody because they don't have them sit at the table. She was blocking Ms. Stauch from the camera. Now, I guarantee you that was absolutely intentional. There's no doubt in my mind that the defense attorney sat there to protect her from the camera. At one point she stood up. She couldn't do that, but that was absolutely done on purpose. Defense attorneys do that oftentimes so that, to protect your client from the media. Gannon Stauch's parents were in the courtroom. They're entitled to be at every proceeding. They will be flown back and forth from South Carolina for all court appearances at the district attorney's expense under the Victims' Rights Act. If there's a conviction, they'll ask for bill of costs that they'll never collect. They will be there at all court appearances. And you also saw that before they set the date, the district attorney went back and spoke to Gannon Stauch's mother because they were clearing the date to make sure it was good for her. Because under the Victims' Rights Act, the victim in every case has a right to be present and to be notified of all court proceedings. And in a case of this nature, they're going to accommodate her being available. Ultimately, the judge said, hey, under the court rules here in Colorado, we have expanded media coverage only for initial advisements and sentencing. It's a silly rule. It should be available in the courtroom for any case. I don't care. It's just my personal opinion. But he basically told the media, don't file your request for expanded media coverage because it will be summarily denied because the rules just don't allow it. Basically, it's for arraignment and initial appearance, and that is it. So on April 14th, we will find out how much time the defense thinks they're going to need to go through the some 1,000 pages of discovery, and apparently there's lots of videos. But frankly, let's face it, 1,000 pages of discovery isn't that much. More than likely into discovery, there is a lot of duplicate information there because it seems like you always get 2 and 3 copies of the same thing, criminal histories, etc. So 1,000 pages really isn't that much, and most of it's not going to be relevant because it's probably tips and leads that the police had to go investigate. So I would have pressed on, but I get it. It's their case. Who knows what their client has told them. She may be in no hurry, but the bond will be addressed not at the next 21 days, but at the following court date after that, which will be the preliminary hearing and proof evident presumption. Great. A lot of questions were asked yesterday after the Letitia Stauch court appearance. One of the questions that seemed to come up a lot was, why is she in that particular colored jumpsuit? So for those who do not recall, Letitia Stauch was in a green-colored jumpsuit. Oftentimes, you would see other inmates in El Paso County that have orange and white striped type of jail garb on. The color of the jail uniform has to do with the classification of their security risk. If they are in a high bond area, they will be in a particular colored uniform, so they don't get to just walk around the jail by mistakes, and it lets everybody know they're high risk. Most jails put people in either green or a red jumpsuit if they're a personnel management issue, so to speak. And it depends. If they're more of just the general population or if they're in the misdemeanors, they get other various colors. The green would indicate to me that she is in a higher level of risk management, probably because of her conduct on her trip back to Colorado, where it is alleged in Wichita they had to basically pull over because she had escaped from her handcuffs and assaulted the police officer, helping in the process of extraditing her back to Colorado. I have had cases, and you can go to most courts on any given day, and there's usually somebody there that is a high-risk management. They usually get escorted in with 5 or 6 deputies. They standing by them. They're completely shackled every which way. I've had clients that have had stun belts on them. I've had clients that have had stun belts in trial, have the belt on them out of the view of the jury, but if they were to react or do something inappropriate, literally they would get stunned. There's lots of precautions that most people are not aware of when somebody is in custody and they are a management risk. 90% of the people will never be an issue. But as we saw yesterday, there was a gentleman in Kentucky who was our dumb criminal contestant of the day who got a little mouthy with the judge. I guarantee you, by the next court date, he will be a little more well-behaved, or the judge will probably remove him, and the sheriff takes the appropriate precautions in any way. So like I said, it could be more deputies, could be stun belts. If they tried to escape, we've had people that have tried to escape. Obviously, they show up in court where their ankles are shackled as well. They have a belt strapped to them along with a belly chain. They can get very creative to make sure that somebody appears in court, as they have a constitutional right to do, but to maintain the security. And normally, the judges are not going to get involved in those type of everyday security matters other than to know and be aware of what the sheriff wants to do. The sheriffs will usually brief the judges if there is any type of concern. So, hope that answers that question. The other question was why is the affidavit for arrest warrant still sealed, but yet the witness list will be produced? It's strange. I agree. The affidavit should have been unsealed. The prosecution didn't object to it being unsealed. It should be unsealed. We should all be able to know. Like I said, I'm a big advocate of the fact that these court files are public information. They're public record. It used to be you could walk in and literally pick up any court file from the court clerk, check it out, copy it, do whatever you want with your copies, and move along. These days, it's getting more and more difficult. Everybody's concerned, they claim it's a privacy issue. I personally think it's the court system just doesn't want to deal with it. They don't want everything to be accessible. Even now, you have to be able to have your ISIS account if you want to access another court file and pay for it. It's just become more and more cumbersome when it should become more and more easily available to all members of the public. It's a public record. These are public proceedings. So yes, it's frustrating, but the witness lists have to be turned over. It used to be the witness list was attached to the complaint and information, but under the rules that recently changed here in Colorado, they're separate and they are filed as a separate document. Not really sure why, other than for security reasons. The complaint information is provided to the defendant at the second advisement, and if you get a copy of the witness list, there's concerns that a defendant will reach out to the witnesses on the list and perhaps do something to intimidate or harass them in some way, which would be silly because that would just result in additional charges. But that's why they do it. Who knows? Why do they do it? Somewhere, someone along the line messed up and they made a new rule. That's just the way it is.